This is the Transformers Generations War for Cybertron Trilogy EARTHRISE Deluxe Class Cliffjumper. Now, Cliffjumper is part of the first wave of these Deluxe Class figures for the EARTHRISE toy line. Here's a quick look at the packaging and the box art. I picked up this figure at Hobby Corner. Let's get him out of packaging. And before we begin, as always, the secret message being you need to decode in the insert for Cliffjumper is the dead universe. And here is EARTHRISE Cliffjumper out of packaging. And I know I say this a lot for my War of Cybertron trilogy reviews, but they really did a good job with this figure looking like his G1 cartoon self. And it's a great update of a classic G1 character. If you remember back in the day, G1 toys were like so small, and it was just really the novelty of the transformation that made you buy them, and they didn't look like the way they looked like in the cartoon. So with this new line of War for Cybertron trilogy figures, we are getting all that nostalgic feel and a very good rendition of the G1 characters without really getting into the masterpiece high-end Transformers line. This is a mass retail product, and if you ask me, you don't need the masterpiece line if you just want your basic G1 characters in toy form. So very, very cool. Look at this guy. I have Megatron in my optics. I mean, he was voiced by Casey Kasem back in the day, and I really, really like that guy. He was such a spark plug. I mean, he kept causing trouble for the Autobots because he was like gung-ho, he was very impulsive, and oh my god, Cliffjumper. Now, he's holding this big-ass gun, and you're wondering why he has such a big bazooka, being such a little guy. That's because if you watch the first few episodes of season 1 of the old 1984 Transformers, he somehow, I don't know how he did this, he produced a big bazooka or long range cannon, and he wanted to shoot Megatron, and Hound was like, no, Cliffjumper. He wanted to kill Megatron for what he did on Cybertron. So that's where that gun is coming from, and I really like it. It's made up of several pieces which detach, and it's nice black plastic painted silver. And obviously you can use this as individual weapons if you wanted to. And you can clip these things here, and then he can hold them as individual guns. So that's pretty cool too. I mean, I'm okay with that. And you can peg these, I don't know, these other accessories any which way you want, but that's pretty cool. You don't really need these. I think the bazooka mode is really still the best mode for the guns. Anyway, so looking at the figure, yeah, you're saying he's tiny and he's a deluxe class. Even if he's diminutive in size, it's the way he captures that G1 Cliffjumper, and I'm very, very impressed. He's got this huge backpack which you can actually remove. You do remove this in transformation. It's sort of a parts forming transformer. You can use it as a shield if you wanted to, much like what Hasbro's been doing now with their Transformers. That's fine. Even without the backpack, he still looks great. A little bit of wheel kibble right here, but that's fine. For size comparisons, and I was genuinely shocked that he was a little bit bigger than a Legends class series from Titan's Return or Power of the Primes or whatnot. And he does scale okay, but I'm guessing this is the new small deluxe form for the mini bots. He still scales okay with Brawn, I guess, but with Bumblebee looks small. And if I may be so bold as to predict, I'm guessing that with this new Cliffjumper figure, Hasbro is going to redo all the Legends class Autobots and just turn them into small scale deluxes. And you know what, that it kind of sucks if you've been collecting the Legends class figures for a long time, like Beachcomber, Warpath. I mean, all of those figures, they're going to be rendered obsolete once Hasbro does all the mini bots in this new small scale deluxe type of scaled figures, because Bumblebee should be the same size as Cliffjumper as well as Bronze. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but if it makes them look more like their G1 self, then I'm all for it. Speaking of G1 looking toys, this is the Agent Hornet from KBB. This one actually looks more in scale with Cliffjumper. Actually, he does look more like Bumblebee than the Titan's Return. If you ask me, if you're going to put them on the shelf with your G1 characters, Autobots, this guy is the one you want to get. Not so much this one, which is, no, take nothing away from this figure. This guy is pretty good, but look at this. And I'm guessing they're going to remold or redo this figure into something like Bumblebee. All right, this is a deluxe class. Is Buddy Hound, as we saw in the picture. And they scale well, amazingly well. And of course, a Voyager class figure, which is also a Leader class figure, in my opinion, Optimus Prime. So yeah. So for articulation for the figure, he's got a ball jointed neck, a waist swivel, arms can go outward, forwards and back. He's got a bicep swivel, hinge elbow that goes both ways because of transformation, swivel wrists, ball jointed hips, or ball hinge hips, goes outwards, forwards and back, hinge knees, rocker tilt. And that's it. Now to transform him, the first thing you want to do is you want to remove the backpack. It sucks, but there was really no other way to do it. The transformation was a little bit complex for a small figure. Okay, so next thing you want to do this. Put up that hood piece, cover his face. Okay, and put this back right here. All right, and then what you want to do is fold the arms this way, the forearms this way. Okay, fold them up like this, just for the time being. And then what you want to do is you want to rotate those hips. You see a hinge is being revealed right there, and that's what you're going to fold onto. Okay, and then the feet, you're going to tab them right here. And just slide them out like that. Okay. And then essentially what you want to do is you want to collapse this entire head assembly right into his feet. So to do that, move the arms outward like this. Excuse me. Move it out like this, and then fold it out down like this. And like this. Okay. And just start tabbing pieces together. Like that. And these are the, you gotta do the arms first. I think if you've done the arms, then everything's gonna fall into place. So those slots right there are for those teeny tiny tabs right there on his shoulders. So do that. Do that. Okay. And then just tab everything in. Okay. Okay. All right. Let the wheels. Hey, it's not. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right. That was easy. All right, and finally, his hands are sticking out. His hands are going, make sure they're aligned properly, because they're going to grip, fold this down, they're going to grip these two sort of pegs. I'm glad they made them half pegs, because if they were whole pegs, oh my god, it'd be ridiculously impossible to get rid of them, to remove them and transform them back into robot mode. But as it is, it's hollow and all that, it's easy to remove with a little bit of force. So just fold it like that. Don't be afraid. If you just put it all the way, insert it all the way in, it's gonna be fine. Okay, and there is Cliffjumper in his alt mode. It actually looks nice. So robot mode and alt mode, car mode, are actually very, very awesome looking despite that hideous transformation. It's supposed to be, back in the old G1 toy, it's supposed to be a Porsche 924. And I don't know, a Porsche 924 looks something like this. It's supposed to be like this. I don't know. Kind of looks more like a Celica, a Toyota, or a Supra, an old 80s Supra or Celica. I'm not sure, but regardless of what's been said about this alt mode, it is probably the closest looking alt mode to the Cliffjumper G1 alt mode that we've gotten in a long time. Maybe if they do a masterpiece, you'll get it right, but this one is close enough, despite looking more like a Toyota than a Porsche. So pretty neat. And then do this. Okay, supposed to peg this thing right here. Excuse me. Okay. Okay, onto those hollow pegs. Okay, and then you're supposed to attach the blasters, and they're gonna form the thrusters, I think. It's supposed to be like that. And like this. Okay, so those are like, you can literally take off like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Okay, I know, it's ridiculous. And then the skis are supposed to be for the front wheels like this. And it's a nice little gimmick. I mean, if you do remember one episode in the old G1 cartoon where Cliffjumper actually went on the water and started skiing, water skiing, and just blasting Decepticons, it looked something like this. So it was a very super deformed Porsche 924 back in the day, although he's got 4 skis on instead of just a pair of skis and some thrusters, but it's fine. And I'm sure somebody's gonna customize that blaster on the bonnet, right? Megatron! Attack Autobot! Attack Megatron! Yeah, I know. It's kind of lame, but it is what it is. It's okay. Okay, let me just get rid of it so we can do some size comparisons with other figures in vehicle mode. So first up, let's go with the big one, Leader Class Optimus Prime, which is essentially a Voyager class figure. So in this regard, it's not a perfect scale. He's a little too big, or he's a little too small, but it's all right. I mean, if you display it on the shelf, it should be fine. With the Deluxe class, he's actually pretty good. This one's actually a pretty good scale. Sort of. Okay. Off right there to the side. And then some other Legends class figures that we've shown earlier, Brawn and Bumblebee. And obviously he's going to be he's too big, seriously, for the Legends class figures, and I'm guessing this is going to be the new norm for the smaller Autobots. And then finally, with the Agent Hornet, you know what? They actually look good together. He's a little too big. Could be a masterpiece. Could be already in masterpiece scale, but yeah, it's not bad. If you're just gonna leave it on the shelf, it's actually pretty good. And so some final thoughts on this figure. I'm actually okay with the scale, being that it is a deluxe class. It's sold as a deluxe class, but a smaller scale deluxe class figure. I don't know, for some reason I'm okay with it, and that's because they actually nailed the G1 look. Well, almost perfectly nailed, not perfect, but very good rendition of that G1 Cliffjumper in both alt mode and in robot mode. And I think it's a great thing for Generations collectors, because this new scale for the mini-bots, for the smaller Autobots, I think will do wonders for the line. We'll get more accurate looking Transformers to the G1 counterpart and to their cartoon likeness. I'm glad I don't have to track down all the other Legends class figures, Autobot Legends class figures that I've already sold off just to complete my G1 shelf, my G1 cartoon cast members of Autobots, and maybe even Decepticons. So that's great. It's moving forward, and I think it's a great step for Hasbro. Given that it is being sold as like a figure like Ironhide or Hound or Mirage or even Impactor, yeah, it can be a deal breaker for some collectors, and chances are people are just going to wait for him to go on clearance. But having said that, I think it's a great the line is looking great. It's looking very good and has a bright future even with this new scale. My only gripe about this figure really is the horrendous transformation, and personally I think they overthunk the transformation. It should have been a more simpler transformation, like perhaps what they did with the Titans Return Bumblebee. And you know, in my just small opinion, they could have just folded the wheels down, just made it as basic as possible, rotated the chest, and this one could have rotated and flipped back up like that. The arms could just be under. Sometimes the simplest solution is actually the best solution, but I think the whole transformation process was a little overcooked for me, and I didn't like it too much. It wasn't really enjoyable transforming this figure. But having said that, both car mode and robot mode are fantastic. They're just absolutely terrific. I couldn't be happier with another Cliffjumper figure. So with that, I wanted to give this figure a 9.5 out of 10 because of all the aesthetics. It's great, but the transformation really brought the score down. And because it is a Transformer, I have to grade it in all aspects, and it's going to get an 8 out of 10 for me. So best of luck to everybody hunting this one down. Him and Wheeljack, I think at least out here in Manila, Wheeljack and Cliffjumper are the first two to go for the first wave of deluxes. So he comes 2 per pack, 2 per case, and best of luck to everybody hunting him down. So let me know what you think of this new Earthrise Cliffjumper figure. Hit me in the comment section below. Let me know if you guys liked it, you hated it, it was okay. Hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. This has been the Transformers Generations War for Cybertron Trilogy Earthrise Deluxe Class Cliffjumper. Thanks for watching.